Okay, so now we can continue. I think we lost a few people. Okay. Anyway. Okay, Stephen is here?
Yes, Bhante.
Okay, so now we're in section 296. So iminacha Aryena Sila Kandena Samanagato.
So iminacha Aryena Sila Kandena Samanagato.
Iminacha Aryena Indriya Sangvarena Samanagato.
Iminacha Aryena Indriya Sangvarena Samanagato.
Iminacha Aryena Sati Sampajanyena Samanagato.
Iminacha Aryena Sati Sampajanya
Sampajanyena.
Sati Sampajanyena
Yeah.
Samanagato.
Vivitang Senasanang Bhajati.
Vivitang Senasitang Bhajati.
Yeah, we should, except for Stephen. Okay. Okay. So before we go further, this is sort of summarizing everything that's come before. So he possesses this noble aggregate of virtue, and he possesses this noble aggregate of restraint of the senses. He possesses this noble restraint of the sense faculties, and he possesses this noble mindfulness and clear comprehension. Then he resorts to Vivitang Senasanang, that's a secluded dwelling place. And then just comes a enumeration of the dwellings. Aranyang Rukamulang Pabatang.
Aranyang Rukamulang Pabatang.
Gandarang Giriguhang Susanang.
Kandarang Giriguhang Susanang.
Vanapatang Abhokasang Palala Punjang.
Vanapatang Abhokasang Pala Punjam.
Yeah. Palala Punjang.
Palala Punjang.
Yeah, Palala is one word, Punjang is the other. Okay, so Aranya is a forest, Rukamula, so this is the root of a tree or the foot of a tree. Pabata is a mountain. Kandara, I found the meaning given in the dictionary is ravine. So that doesn't seem such a suitable place for meditation. The commentary gives a rather complicated explanation of it. It seems to be a place close to a flowing body of water. Anyway, Giri Guhang. So Giri is like a small mountain and Guha is a cave. So this is, you could say, a hillside cave. Then Susana, this is a cemetery or cremation ground. Vanapatang, this is like a woodland grove. And Abokasang is the open air. And Palala Punjang is a pile of straw, heap of straw. So those are the secluded dwelling places. Okay, then so Pachabatang Pindapata Patikanto.
So Pachabatang Pindapata Patikanto.
Nisidati Palankang Abujitva.
Nisidati Palankang Abujitva.
Ujung Kayang Panidaya.
Ujung Kayang Panidaya.
Parimukang Sating Upatapetva.
Parimukang Sating Utapapetva.
Okay, so Pachabatang means literally after the meal. So it's usually taken to mean in the afternoon, since in the morning the monk will go on the alms round and then take his meal. So in the afternoon, then Pindapata Patikanto. So this is Patikanto is returned, and one is returned from Pindapata, from alms food. And the commentary explains Pindapata Pariyesinato Patikanto, that one is returned from gathering alms food. In other words, you could say here, having returned from the alms round, and assumes having after taking the meal as well. Then nisidati, this is the finite verb. He sits down, and then palankang abujitva. So there's a verb abujati, which means to bend, and this is the absolutive, having bent. And palanka, the commentary explains samantato urubadasanam. So it's the sitting posture with the thighs bound together evenly. So in other words, this will be sitting cross-legged, having bent the legs into and he sits down having bent the legs into a cross-legged posture. Then ujung means straight, and kayang is body. Panidaya, so having adjusted the body straight, or having held the body straight. Then parimukang sating upatapetva. So upatapetva is having set up, and one sets up mindfulness. And then the commentary gives various explanations of parimukang. Well, sometimes parimukang is explained rather narrowly. You see, the word mukha can mean mouth or face, and pari, around. So it could be taken in the narrow sense that one sets up mindfulness around the mouth. So that would be at the nostrils or the upper lip. But the commentary gives several alternative explanations. So it says, kamatan abi mukang sating tapayitva, having set up mindfulness directed towards the meditation subject. Yeah, that's the explanation that I would prefer. I wouldn't take it too narrowly. But actually then it says mukha samipeva katvati atto, or else the meaning is having set up the mindfulness in the region of the mouth. And then another explanation is mukha is taken to have the meaning of the exit or emancipation. And so the sense is that one sets up mindfulness directed towards emancipation. But I think the simplest explanation is simply that one sets up mindfulness directed towards the meditation subject. If you're doing mindfulness of breathing, then it makes sense to set the mindfulness around the nostrils or upper lip. But if one is doing some other meditation, then you wouldn't set up mindfulness there. Okay, so that is taking the appropriate posture. Then, okay, we'll do the section on the five hindrances. So, abijang, any questions on the passage we just went through? Okay, then we do the section on the five hindrances. So, abijang loke pahaya,
So abijam loke pahaya,
vigat abijena chetasa viharati,
vigat abijena chetasa viharati,
abijaya chitang pariso deti.
abijaya chittang parisodeki.
Okay, so Bahaya is the absolutive of the verb pajahati. So having abandoned abija. Sometimes abija is translated in the narrow sense, covetousness, but we could take it in the broader sense of simply craving. So having abandoned craving in regard to the world, he dwells, then chetasa, this is the instrumental with the mind, and then the mind is described as vigat abhijana. Vigata is free from, rid of, abhija, rid of craving. So he dwells with a mind rid of craving. And then abhijaya chitang parisodeti, that he purifies the mind from craving. Yeah, since abhija is a feminine noun, we can't determine just from abhijaya whether the case is instrumental or ablative. But in the case of the following hindrances, you could see that it's ablative case. And so ablative would apply here. So he purifies the mind from craving. Then the next one, vyapada padosang pahaya,
Vyapada padosang pahaya.
abhyapana chito viharati,
Abhyapana chitta viharati.
sabapana bhuta hit anukampi,
Sabpana bhuta hit anukampi.
vyapada padosa chitang parisodeti.
Vyapada padosa chittang parisodeti.
So vyapada is ill will, and padosa, so this is just a prefix form of dosa, of hatred. Okay, so you could say having abandoned ill will and hatred, then he dwells with abhyapana chito. That is, he dwells with a mind without ill will. And then sabapana bhuta hitanukampi. So we had this earlier in the passage on the abstaining from the destruction of life. So he is compassionate for the welfare of all living beings. And then he purifies the mind from ill will and hatred. Okay, then the third hindrance, tina midang pahaya,
Tina midang pahaya.
vigata tina mido viharati,
Vigata tina middo viharati.
aloka sanyi sato sampajano.
Aloka sanyi sato sampajano.
Okay, so here having abandoned tina I would render dullness, and mida drowsiness, then he dwells rid of dullness and drowsiness. Then he is aloka sanyi, that is perceiving light. So this is a way to dispel dullness and drowsiness, is to visualize a light, so percipient of light, or it could be just metaphorical with a bright mind. Then sato is mindful, and sampajano clearly comprehending. And then he purifies the mind from dullness and drowsiness.
Bante?
Yeah.
There's suddenly a huge amount of noise outside of my window. Perhaps somebody else could take over the reading. I'm sorry, it's very noisy here.
Okay, so I don't hear it, but if somebody else wants to take.
Maybe we heard June. She can take over. Would she mind?
Okay. June, you wanted to?
Yes, Bante.
Okay, so let us see where we are. Okay, with the udacha to kukucha. Okay. Udacha kukuchang pahaya.
Udacha kukuchang pahaya.
Anudato viharati.
Anudato viharati.
Ajitang vupasanta chito.
Achatang vupasanto chito.
Udacha kukucha chitang parisodeti.
Udacha kukucha chitang parisodeti.
Okay, so in this case, having abandoned udacha is restlessness, and kukucha is sort of the sense of having done something wrong. So we say, maybe we could say regret. So having abandoned restlessness and regret, one dwells anudato. So anudato, so udato is the adjective of which udacha is the noun. One dwells not restless. And then inwardly with vupasanta chito. So vupasanta is peaceful. So with a peaceful mind internally, and then one purifies the mind from restlessness and regret. And then the fifth hindrance, vichikichang pahaya.
Vichikichang pahaya.
Tina vichikicho viharati.
Tina vichikisho viharati.
Akatang kati.
Akatang kati.
Yeah, my phone just rang and I just hung it up. Akatang kati kusalesu dhamesu.
Akatang kati kusalesu damesu.
Vichikichaya chitang parisodeti.
Vichikichaya chitang parisodeti.
Okay, so now having abandoned, vichikicha is doubt. Having abandoned doubt, one dwells. Then we have this bahubihi compound, tina, which is the past participle of the verb turity, to cross over. So doubt is sometimes depicted as a wilderness, and to get through doubt is like crossing the wilderness. So here we have one dwells as one who has crossed over doubt. So we could say free from doubt. Then a katang kati. So this is a kind of artificial noun based on the interrogative katang, how. So somebody who is always in doubt is asking, how is this? How is that? Is it this way? Is it that way? So that person is katang kati, full of questioning. And one who has overcome doubt is a katang kati, without questioning, without uncertainty. Without uncertainty, kusalesu dhammesu, in regard to wholesome qualities. And then vichikichaya chitang parisodeti, he purifies the mind from doubt. Okay, so this is a passage on, it's a stock passage on overcoming the five hindrances. So any questions here?
Ante, what's
Yeah.
the difference between using Sato Sampajano and Satima Sampajano? I know grammatically they are different, but sometimes I see Satima Sampajano.
Yeah, I don't think there's any difference between them. It's just sometimes the text uses sato, sometimes satima. Yeah, I wouldn't ascribe any importance to that.
Thank you.
Any other question? Okay, then we will end our session on the Majjhimani of the a session on the Chula Hathipadopama Sutta here. And then we'll switch directly over to the Sutta Nipata. And we are in the Amaganda Sutta. So this is the sutta about meat eating. And does anybody remember where we left off last time? I think we did 242, correct?
Yes, we're on 243.
Okay, so we're ready to start 243. Okay, so June can continue to be the responder. So, ye ida kamesu, the sun. Let me just see if I can find the meter. Yeah, I don't know how to recite this meter very well, so I'll just read it. Ye ida kamesu, asanyata jana,
Ye ida kamesu asanyata jana.
rasesu gida, asuchi bhavam asita.
Lasesu kita asushi bawa masita.
Natika diti visama duranaya
Natti ka diti visama dulanaya.
esa magando nahi mangsa bojanang.
Esama kando nahi namsa bojanang.
Okay, so the ye is the relative pronoun going with jana, which means people. So those people here who are in regard to sense pleasures, and what is asanyata? Anybody?
Unrestrained, Bhante?
Yeah. Can you explain where it's from?
There is a word, sanyat,
Yeah.
which means unrestricted.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's the same as samyata. So it happens sometimes in Pali when we have the conjunct of the nigahita and a y. It can be represented as a twofold palatal n. So it's unrestrained. So those people here who are unrestrained in regard to sensual pleasures. Then we have rasesu gida. So gida means greedy. So greedy in regard to tastes, greedy for delicious tastes. And then asuchi bhava masito. But I see that according to the note, the Sinhalese, the Siamese, the Cambodian, and the PTS editions all have misita, which seems to make better sense to me. So we'll take that reading. So asuchi is impure, and asuchi bhava is impurity, and misita means mixed up with impurity. And then the commentary explains that because of their greed for delicious tastes, in order to be able to obtain delicious food, they are mixed up with impurity. In other words, with some kind of wrong livelihood. How did I translate this? I just had mixed up with impurity. I kept it literal. Okay, then we have Natika Ditti. So Natika Ditti, this was in the Buddha's time, the view, the kind of heretical view that there is no value in giving, in charity, in helping others, in supporting one's family, that there's no karma and result of karma, no world beyond the present one. So this would be called maybe the nihilistic view. And then those who hold the nihilistic view are Natika Ditti, nihilists, philosophical nihilists. Yeah, I have who hold the nihilist view. And Visama, so this is unrighteous. And then Duranaya, difficult word to quite pin down in meaning. And later in the sutta, it's used in a positive sense to describe the Buddha. But here it's obviously it's used in a negative sense and explained by the commentary. It has the meaning of somebody who is difficult to convince, somebody who clings to their own view, who grasps hold tightly and relinquishes their view with difficulty. So we could say somebody who is opinionated or stubborn in their views. Okay, so this is what's meant by carrion, but not the eating of meat. So those people here who are unrestrained in sense pleasures, greedy for delicious flavors, mixed up with impurity, those who hold a nihilistic view, unrighteous, difficult to guide or to lead, this is carrion, but not the eating of meat. So any questions? Some of the terms used will be a bit difficult to understand, and the commentary is helpful for that. Okay, then we come to verse 244. Ye lukasa daruna pitti mangsika.
Ye lukasa daruna piti mamsika.
Mita duno ni karunati manino.
Mitaduno nikarunati mamnino.
Manino.
Manino.
Yeah. Adana sila nachadenti kasachi.
Adana sila nasha denti kasashi.
Esa esa esamagando nahi mangsa bojanang.
Esa makando nahi mamsa bojanang.
Okay, so lukasa, I translated it as rough, and the way the commentary explains it, the commentary says that this refers to those who are devoted to the practice of self-mortification. Because we find in the suttas that the word luka is used to describe those who engage in these kind of rough or afflictive practices of self-mortification. So I think I simply rendered it as rough. Then daruna has the sense of violent, terrifying, dreadful. And then piti mangsika, the word piti means the back. And mangsa is flesh. So the sense is those who bite the back, or in English we say backbiters. That is those who spread bad reports, about one when you turn your back on them. Yeah, the commentary says that in front of you, they speak sweetly, but when you turn your back, then they speak criticism of you. So backbiters. Then mita duno. So this means those who betray friends, betrayers of friends. Then the commentary says that they are those who behave wrongly towards their friends, who put confidence in them, put trust in them. So you put trust in somebody and then they behave wrongly to you, sort of they work for your harm and misery. So they're betrayers of friends. And ni karuna is those without compassion. In other words, those who are cruel. And then we have atimanino, those who have atimana, arrogance. So those who are arrogant. Then adana sila, so those who don't, in this case, sila has the broad sense of habit or practice. And dana is giving or generosity. So those who don't have the habit of giving to others. In other words, those who are, maybe you could say, who are miserly. And then the next phrase sort of elucidates that they do not give to anyone. So this is carrion, but not the eating of meat. So those who are rough, dreadful, backbiters, who betray their friends, who are without compassion, arrogant, not in the habit of giving, who do not give to anyone, this is carrion, but not the eating of meat. Okay, so any questions about this? Okay, then we take 245. Some of the expressions are rare, maybe quite unique to the sutta. So I find I have to refer to my own old translation and the commentary for help. Okay, so we start Kodo Mado Tumbo Pachupa Tapana.
Kodo Mado Tambo Pachu Pata Pana.
Or maybe let's take the reading of the Sinhalese and Siamese. It seems the PTS has the same reading. Oh, I see. Just they have cha. Okay. Okay. Maya usuya basa samusayo cha.
Maya Ushuya Basa Samusayoscha.
Manati mano cha asabi santavo.
Mana Timanosha Asabi Santavo.
Esa magando nahi mangza bojanang.
Esa Makando Nahimam Sa Bochanang.
Okay, so we have koto, this is anger. Mado is pride or vanity. Tumbo is stubbornness. Then pachu tapana. Yeah, I had to look in the commentary for that. And it gives the meaning pachanika Tapana. And then Pati Tanang Pati Virujitva Nayena Dhammena. So this is like setting oneself in opposition. And then it's explained that having opposed the correct method or the Dharma that has been stated. So I translated this approximately as recalcitrance, but the sense is from tapana is setting up, and or utapana is like setting up, and the prefix pati has a nuance of against. So setting oneself up against or in opposition to what is right or proper. And then maya is pretending that one has virtues that one doesn't possess. So I render hypocrisy. Usuya is envy. And basa samusayo, following the commentary, it's atu kangzanata, which is extolling or praising oneself. So we render that as boastfulness. Then man atimano. So mana is conceit and atimano is arrogance. So we could say conceit and arrogance. Or we could take these two together simply as arrogance. And then we have asabi santavo. Does anybody know asabi? Can anybody explain it?
Bhante, is it uncultured?
Uncultured?
Uncultivated.
No. Like, what is the case? Can you identify the case?
I think it's nominative.
No. Okay, so let me explain it. It's a tricky form that we meet with sometimes. Okay, so we have the word asat, which means not good. You know the word, sometimes we have sat, meaning good. So we have like sapurisa, the good person, which is from sat, and purisa, the good person. So asat is a bad person. And then this is the instrumental plural formed from the ending B. So we have asat B. And then what happens is that the T gets assimilated to the B. And so it becomes a sub B with the not good, with the bad. So then the meaning is intimacy with the bad, with bad people. So this is carrion, but not the eating of meat. So anger, pride, obstinacy, recalcitrance or opposition, hypocrisy, envy, and boastfulness, conceit and arrogance, and intimacy with bad people. This is carrion, but not the eating of meat. Okay, any questions here? Okay, then we could do verse 246. Ye papa sila inagata suchaka.
Ye papa sila inakata
Suchaka.
suchaka.
Yeah. Vohara kuta idapati rupika.
Ohala kuta ida pita lupika.
Naradama yeda karonti kibisam.
Nara dama yeda karonti kipisang.
Esa magando nahi mangsa bojanang.
Esa makando nahi mamsa bojanang.
Okay, so in the first word, we have sila, which in a sense is here has a sense of habits or behavior, and papa is bad. So those of bad behavior. Then we have ina gata, which is one word here. Ina is debt. And the way, again, I had to rely on the commentary for the meaning here. So it explains, yeah, it says that this term was explained in the Vasala Sutta, which we already had. So the sense is those who take out a debt, but then don't pay it back. So they are evaders of their debts. And then the word suchika, the commentary explains by way of the word of pesunya, which is like a slandering others. So slanderers. Then vohara kuta. So the word vohara has the meaning of business, transactions. And kuta is crookedness or deception. So those who are deceptive in business dealings, cheaters at business. And pati rupika is those who put on a false appearance. Maybe we could say frauds, those who are frauds, fakes, phonies. The nara dhamma. So the suffix or second word, adama, means inferior, and nara is men. So this is vile men, inferior men, who here do kibisa. Kibisa is like wicked conduct, who here engage in wicked conduct. This is carrion, but not the eating of meat. So those of bad behavior who evade their debts, slanderers, crooked in business, cheats in business, fakes or deceivers here, the vile men who here do evil deeds. This is carrion, but not the eating of meat. So any questions? Okay, I think we could get in another verse. So 247. Ye ida panesu asanyata jana.
Ye ida panyesu asanyata jana.
Oops. Paresam adaya vihesam uyuta.
Palesam adaya vihesa uyuta.
Dusila luda parusa anadara.
Dusila ludda palusa anadara.
Esa magando nahi mangsa bojanang.
Esa makando nahi mamsa bojanang.
Yeah, so here again we have unrestrained, the sanyata. So those people here who are unrestrained in regard to living beings, that is, those who harm or kill living beings. And then paresang adaya is having taken from others. In other words, having taken from others illegitimately, having stolen from others. And then vihesam uyuta. Uyuta, I had to look this up, means engaged in, involved in. And vihesam is harassing attacking or troubling. So those who are having taken from others then become engaged in harming them, harassing them, troubling them. And then dusila, there are actually two words here. Dusila is those who are immoral, who don't observe any kind of precepts. And luda means cruel. Parusa is harsh, like parusa vacha is harsh speech. And then anadara means without respect, disrespectful. So this is carrion, but not the eating of meat. So any questions here? I think we could do one. Yeah, I think we could fit in one more. Okay, so 248. Etesu gida virudadi patino.
Etesu kida viludati patino.
Nich uyuta pecha tamang vajanti ye.
Ni uyuta pesha tamang wajanti. Yeah.
Patanti sata nirayang avang sira.
Patanti satta nirayang avam sira.
A samagando nahi mangsa bojanang.
Esa makando nahi mamsa bojanang.
Okay, so those who are greedy towards these, and then the commentary explains that tesu, a tesu here refers to panesu above. So those who are greedy towards these, and viruda is like violent or hostile. And then we have another word, atipatino, who are aggressive, who are hostile, who are greedy, or hostile and aggressive towards these, that is, towards living beings. And then uyuta. So Nietzsche is always, and uyuta would be, I guess, involved or engaged in these greedy and hostile activities. Then pecha, so pecha is the absolutive, meaning having passed away. Then vajanti tamang, they go towards darkness, those who go towards darkness. And that's explained in the next verse, patanti sata nirayang avang sira. So avang sira, sira is the head, and ava means down. So this is going with the head down. Patanti, they fall. It's the satta, beings fall with their heads down, nirayang, into hell. So this is carrion, but not the eating of meat. So those who are greedy towards these beings, hostile, aggressive, who are always involved in these activities, having passed away, they go to darkness. These beings fall headfirst into hell. This is carrion, but not the eating of meat. Okay, so any questions here? Okay, then I think we'll stop the share. Okay, so Are there any questions about these verses? If you found them difficult, don't worry. Some of the words are quite rare, and I had to rely a lot on the commentary to understand them. Okay, today is the 11th. I won't be having a Pali class next Monday. So the next class will be in 2 Mondays from now. Okay, so let us end then with 3 bows to the Buddha. Okay, so we do 1, 2, 3.
And bow to Bante.
Okay, so thank
Thank
you,
you, Bante.
everybody. Thank you all
Thank you,
for joining.
Bhante.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Bhante.
Bhante.
Okay, thank
Thank you,
you.
Bhante.
Bhante.